let me demonstrate the setting here, which is loading element, which we just released for the 6.8.0 feature release. Before I do that, I just want to do a little recap and explain the content policy window, all the stuff you can set here. This app dictionary is a little bit experimental, a way to support multi-language. We don't have any users right now using this functionality since we launched it. So I think this would require a little bit with us working with you to make this really good. Something that is very, very useful is ignore request URL. As you know, Boozang always listens to all the requests that goes out from the browser and waits for it to make sure that all the API requests are completed. That way, if you have a slow answering API, the test will still run stable. So it's very, very powerful, but sometimes there is stuff like socket requests you don't want to wait for. You will add them here in ignore request URL, okay? Priority item for data select is, for instance, Cypress has a certain element. There's a few of these that recommend you setting specific attributes. You can just add them here and you can use wildcards. For me, I use the data bset attribute, so that will be used by the DOM picker and have a priority in case you're using it for a button, etc. We also have ignore classes. You very rarely need to update this. The typical one is, of course, active, or changed or checked. That's very typical ignore classes. I think if you have something specific for your application, especially if it's kind of in your local language or something like that, it's good to add it here so you make sure that we don't try to use this in the DOM policy, in the element selection policy. Text attributes, these are just useful. For instance, your login often has placeholders, so it's good to use these in the selection policy. So that's something you want to keep in mind. Clickable element, usually these are A and button. You usually don't have to set this, but maybe you have something special like a span or something that is clickable, then you can add it here and it will help us when we do our different policies for the element selection. And last but not least, this new one here, the loading element, is a way to capture, for instance here, if I reload this page, there will be kind of a spinner or something like that. Then you can capture it here, and then Boozang will automatically wait for that element to disappear, also making your tests to run more stable.